Hola a todos y a todas. Estamos aquí hoy para ver los verbos reflexivos. So we're here today to look at reflexive verbs. So today we're going to talk about what are reflexive verbs, cuáles son los verbos reflexivos, the reflexive pronouns, cuáles son los pronombres reflexivos, y vamos a ver unos ejemplos. So we're going to see some examples. So that's what we'll do today. So let's start with what are reflexive verbs. ¿Qué son los verbos reflexivos? Reflexive verbs don't really exist in the same way in English as they are in Spanish. Los verbos reflexivos no existen igual en el inglés como en el español. Reflexive verbs are basically actions that are done to oneself. Los verbos reflexivos en general son acciones que uno se hace a sí mismo o sí misma. And so an example of this is lavarse, lavarse. So this is one example, lavarse. So you'll see that se on the end, and that's a pronoun there, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Van a ver aquí este se, que es un pronombre reflexivo, pero ahorita hablamos de eso. Tal vez se acuerdan que el verbo lavar es to wash. So you might remember that the verb lavar is to wash. And you might wash your car, lavo mi carro. You might wash your dog, tú lavas el perro, something like that. You wash your dog, you wash your car. But reflexive verbs mean that one washes him or herself, or some people wash themselves. So this would mean to wash oneself. We wouldn't really say that in English, but in Spanish, that's how you say that. So let's go to the pronouns, los pronombres reflexivos. So van a recordar que aquí tenemos yo, and that's I, and the reflexive pronoun is me. Me. And here, tú, te, él, ella, usted is going to be se. Nosotros es nos, y ellas, ellos, ellas, ustedes is going to be se. Now I have a little song for you, so it will help hopefully for you to remember these reflexive pronouns. The three over here you use as indirect object pronouns and things like that. The se is reflexive. So you might recognize this tune. It says me, te, se, no se, me, te, se, no se. Reflexivos, me, te, se, no se. So you want to sing it with me now? Me, te, se, no se, me, te, se, no se. Reflexivos, me, te, se, no se. So basically, anytime you're using a reflexive verb, you will be using one of these pronouns. And you'll see on the infinitive verb that it has the se. Okay? So that's the pronouns. And the that's the pronouns and what reflexive verbs are. So now we're going to give an example. Okay, so here's generally how you would conjugate lavarse in the present tense in the indicative form. Así se va a conjugar lavarse en el tiempo presente del indicativo. Entonces, tenemos lavarse. Lo primero que se va a hacer básicamente es quitar la parte reflexiva. So basically, the first thing you're going to do is take that reflexive part out, and it goes as me, te, se, nos, se. And then what we have left is the infinitive verb. Entonces, lo que queda es el verbo en infinitivo, lavar. Do you remember how to conjugate a basic AR verb? Basically, you take off the AR, quitas la AR, so then we're going to put love, 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 oops, love. And then do you remember the endings? ¿Se acuerdan de las terminaciones? O, as, a, amos, an. So then we have me lavo, te lavas, se lava, nos lavamos, se lavan. And so do you remember what they mean in English? So this would be I wash myself. In English, we don't really say I wash myself. But if we want a literal translation, that's what that would be. Like we say, I take a shower, I take a bath, I wash my hands. So something like that, you would say, me lavo las manos, or, but it's to yourself. So here, te lavas, you wash yourself. He washes himself, she washes herself. We wash ourselves, they wash themselves. So that's reflexive, what you do to yourself. And so if we just say lava, remember, as I explained at the beginning, it's something that you do to somebody else. If you don't have the reflexive verb, it's something that you do to somebody else. So you would say, me lavo, maybe I'll use a different color marker here. Me lavo, and the yo is generally optional because we know with me lavo that all says I. Me lavo las manos. I wash my hands, and here you say las manos because again, we know we're doing it to ourselves, so we can just say las manos. But then if I say lavo el carro, then that's something I'm doing to another object, and so no me, no reflexive pronoun. How's that? Finally, let's look at some common reflexive verbs. Estos son algunos verbos reflexivos comunes. Tenemos acordarse, to remember, acostarse, to go to bed, afeitarse, to shave, bañarse, to take a bath, despertarse, to wake up, levantarse, to get up or get out of bed or stand up, preocuparse, to worry, sentarse, to sit, sentirse, to feel, vestirse, to get dressed, quitarse, to take off. And then finally, you'll see here at the bottom the verb irse, which means to go away, or I'm leaving, or she's leaving. So I would say the conjugation of ir is completely irregular, but we would say me voy. That means I'm leaving, see you later, hasta luego, te vas, se va, nos vamos, se van. That means we're leaving, we're going somewhere else. And then just to note here, you'll see these stars here, van a ver las estrellas aquí. Eso es decir que son verbos irregulares. So all of these with the stars are irregular verbs. And so in another video, I'll go over how to conjugate irregular verbs. And so you can see all of these here. A lot of the verbs are irregular, but however you would conjugate them in the present, in whatever tense you're using, is how you conjugate them. And just remember your pronouns, me, te, se, no se. So remember those. Well, enjoy reflexive verbs. They're really common and they're really confusing for people who are learning Spanish. Dios te bendiga. Adiós.